Welcome everybody. It's me, Eddie, and Pink's also here.
Indeed.
Which fucking podcast is this? Which number, I mean? Shit. That's
All
what
right,
I
I was
did
about
not
to say
check.
we don't have any other podcasts that I'm aware
No,
of.
we do. We do have another podcast. We have Fighting Games Are, but it's dead.
That's right, but I'm
It's
not a part of
buried.
that,
It's
so why
buried
would I
in
know
a
about
ditch.
that?
So 175. This is the Shut Your Mouth Lounge episode 175.
Excellent.
So, Pink, is anything coming out on your channel?
Pardon me?
Is anything coming out on your channel?
Okay, so part of that got cut off. All I heard was Pink channel. It's like, what about the channel? Yeah.
Yes, Pink
So
channel. Tell us about channel.
I don't know what channel is. There are so many options. So this week I started recording Hades. I'm going to be continuing with that. I'm going to be recording Aztec playthrough in Civilization 6 because they are one of the many civs
you,
in the final update.
you got cut off, Pink, so you just said because they are one of the many civilizations. I mean, I guess they are.
Yes, they are. They are definitely one of the many civilizations. So yeah, they're one of the ones that received a change in the final update of all time. And the change that they received is so minuscule that it's almost entirely irrelevant. So
Nice.
that's why I'm deciding to play as the Aztecs, because I was like, hey, that's gonna be funny. Everyone's gonna be playing as like the Khmer and Canada and Spain, who all received very monumental buffs that have drastically improved their performances. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna pick the Civ who received a change that impacts absolutely nothing, and it's gonna be funny. So yeah, those are the two things that I will have coming out this week. I think part one of Hades is already up.
I think
but I've got the remainder of it set to be coming out this week, and I'll probably be recording more of that as well. So should be a lot of that unless I don't get around to it, but hoping for the best.
Yeah.
It's like Hades is a fantastic game. I love it, so it shouldn't be a problem to get in and record. In the early stages, you probably only get to the to the final boss of the first dungeon, and then you die. And that will only take about 20 minutes. So, taking 20 minutes a day to record Hades shouldn't be a problem. Once it gets to the later game, then I start being able to progress further than the first dungeon. That's when it'll take a bit more time, but that still shouldn't be an issue because it's a good game. I'll just breeze right through it. And I think there was something else I wanted to. I definitely want to get back into Guilty Gear because new computer should be able to handle that just a bit better.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to play Exerd without any noticeable lag. So I'm excited for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Double X never had any problems to my knowledge, but still better performance. You can't argue with that. It's all the more reason to record some more of that. So yeah, definitely have a lot of stuff not on my plate, but that I want to put upon my plate. So excited for the future. And that wraps it up for whatever I have coming up on the channel or intend to have coming up on the channel. So what about you?
Well, there's always more Ghost of Tsushima, or at least for the next 3 weeks. And then the series is finally over. So yeah, more Ghost of Tsushima. It's still not the episode that I like. Like, there's an episode there, the second to last episode has one moment that is very shit. Like, it's not funny to anyone but me, but I love it, and it's my favorite episode in the series. So yeah, more Ghost of Tsushima.
Excellent.
And then as for the group channel, we have the last episode of Smite for now, which is
okay.
That's a lie. The last episode came out last week. Well, it's complicated. The last episode came out yesterday, as for when we're recording this,
I see.
which is next week in talking terms, because technically our schedule week starts on Sunday. So
Right.
so yeah, complications. But yeah, so the less Smite related video, I guess, that we have recorded so far, which was that one time when we played during the podcast.
Right.
So yeah, that's coming out on the 26th, which is Monday, I believe. I think so.
I don't have my phone to check, but oh wait, I've got a computer. Let me open that. Monday is the 26th. Yes.
All right. So that, and then on the same day, we have the next part in Terraria. Finally,
All right.
after posting the return on my birthday, we are now
Yeah.
we now actually have the follow up in the series.
Perfect. It only took us like a month.
Yeah. And then on Friday, you will never guess, but more Terraria.
Oh man.
And that's all that's coming out on the channel.
Wow. It's like after Friday, we're in April. April. We are in April. We're in May, or we will be in May. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
Felt like March was just yesterday.
Yeah, I mean a constant thing of like I don't know, like sometimes when we don't record, or even on some days when we do, while I'm waiting for shit because I don't have a life and don't have nothing better to do, I'm just sitting there going like, man, I'm bored. And the days, they don't pass by. Like it feels like freaking years are like it feels like seconds are going on for years. There we go. That's the simile that I wanted to say.
Uh-huh.
but then I'm also like, hey, the freaking this whole thing with the furry stuff didn't settle yet, and it's been nearly half a fucking year.
Yeah.
Like technically it's already been half a year if we count from November last year. So
Yeah, it's been a while.
yeah, time is weird and relative.
If indeed, very much so.
But yeah, so Pink, what have you done this week?
What have I done this week? So I played a lot of Smite this week because Gilgamesh released, and he's one of the most.
I think we'll have varying opinions on Gilgamesh because I only got to play against him.
We may have very big opinions because I think he was one of the most fun gods they've released in quite a while. I'll have to look back at the list of releases, but I wasn't really fond of Tiamat. I've not played Baba yet, actually, so I can't speak on that one. But
Baba Yaga is complicated.
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, I've not played as it. I've rarely see it in Arena, but there was one the other day that I was playing against, and because I was so unfamiliar with it, things would happen on screen, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I'd just be like standing in the house saying that is on fire, and like, what's going on? Oh no, I'm taking damage. I should step out of this. And then other things explode, and it was a terrible time because I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I really want to check that one out because it's very weird. So, I mean, if it's weird, what's not to love?
Imagine if they added Faust to Guilty, or fuck, Smite.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
Gilgamesh.
The interesting thing about him is I feel like there's no correct or incorrect way to build him, which is a moderate relief because his passives are at level 5. A location is marked on your map, and you are basically encouraged to go and walk upon that spot and in doing so, you will receive a tier 1 item, not a full tier starting item. And that item is completely random. Um I've had you know defensive items, offensive items. I've had what are some of the other things? There was one I wanted to note that I forget the. I'm actually trying to look through the item build right now to find out what it was called.
Did
One
you
second.
accidentally get like a freaking magical offense item? Because that would be funny.
No, that has not happened yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Like
I
I
received.
yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Okay, so the thing I picked up was a Morning Star,
Ah,
which is that's your typical hunter item. It can be built into the Hydra's Lament or Transcendence most often,
yeah.
but it also has a Heat Seeker and
Yeah,
not Heat Seeker, Heart Seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dominance, which I actually have no idea which one that is.
I don't know.
So
I mostly use Heartseeker from that because hey, scaling damage is nice.
yeah, so that was one that I felt,
I don't know
but
what it
at
is,
the
but you keep
same
putting out, dude.
time, yeah, at the same time, I got the critical starter item. So I actually went and built what is it called? Malice. And the fun thing about Malice is successfully hitting an enemy god with a critical hit will take 3 seconds off your cooldowns. And Gilgamesh already has very short cooldowns.
I've noticed.
So yeah, I coupled that with like one of the hunter bows, Ikaival, I believe. Not the golden bow
Yeah,
or
HI will.
Odysseus bow. I feel like that one would have been kind of dumb, but
I don't think
I was tempted to build it anyway.
I don't think Gobo would have worked because I think it only procs off of basics. Although I don't know.
Yeah.
Two bows that I have found work the best are Atlantis and Ichival. And people stopped building Ichival for some reason. I don't know why. But
I
like
don't know why either. That one's probably my favorite.
yeah, Ichival used to be very meta when we played back in 2018, which is how I know of it. Because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to build off meta and figure out something that works better. And I mean I didn't, but you know, I didn't have the experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue with Gilgamesh.
Continuing with Gilgamesh, so with that decrease every time you hit a critical for 3 seconds, I was able to just drop kick fools like nobody's business. It was wild when it worked. It doesn't always work. You know, some teams are just smarter than the others, and they'll be able to position themselves where there's not really a good opportunity to sneak up behind them and kick them behind enemy lines or anything like that. Um, but the big thing I want to note with Hercules Gilgamesh is that his dropkick and his ult seem to synergize very well. The leap is good because, you know, straight up it's a leap. Those are always good. But his one, I'm not really feeling the one. It's just kind of a almost passive buff that he gets. I mean, there is that initial area of effect that he damages at the beginning of it, but after that,
His one is for auto attack builds.
yeah, after that, it always felt kind of underwhelming because even if I build like the Atalanta's bow or the Frostbound hammer that will slow the opponents down, I never feel like I'm able to get enough hits in where it's actually of any significance.
That's when you
So
build that's when you build it auto attack on Hunter instead of actual Gilgamesh.
yeah,
Like freaking Ninja Tubby, Atlantis and Ichival together. Maybe get crossbound, but you don't really need it with Oh, okay, yeah, warriors may need it. Well, whatever.
yeah.
That. What else do I? Queen's size are very good with auto attack builds,
Yeah.
and then people die, and so do you.
So do you. Yep, that's the thing I want to know. He is very squishy, but I feel like this season all warriors have been a bit squishier than normal. So maybe that's a change that happened previously that I was not privy to. Because his starting health is just abysmal. But when I went and checked, it was apparently better than Achilles, who I played a lot and still played a lot to this day. I think Achilles is just a bit tankier with his passive, where he can swap between being more attack centric or more defensive.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just a passive contributing to that train of thought or mentality. But it did feel like Gilgamesh was a lot squishier than Achilles or Bellona, but apparently Gilgamesh and Bellona, if I recall correctly, have the same amount of base health, so maybe just terribly wrong there. But it just, to me, felt like he was very squishy. So he's like a bit of a tanky assassin to me, but without the ability to secure kills. He can't really seem to one-on-one or 1v1 opponents very well, because he's got his 1, and then he can also use his 3 to jump on him and get some little extra damage, and I believe it provides some sort of benefits in that area that he leaps upon. I don't remember what the actual passives are, but your drop kick, it's his best tool in his kit, but it's also the one that will launch opponents away from you. So you don't always want to pop that one, because you could have someone dead to rights, but you
Pink.
can't finish them off because go ahead.
Pink, you wait for them to start running away, and then you drop kick a mini at them, and they die.
I suppose that's viable. I Can you actually drop kick minis though?
Yes, they needed to patch it, because if Gilgamesh drop kicked a mini, they would be freaking invincible.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, I thought he could drop kick minis, but when I tried it the other day, he just sort of went right through all the minions in the lane. So I thought, oh, maybe that's not how it works, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know anymore. But yeah, it felt like after dumping his kit onto an enemy and having the final options in your kit being a drop kick or just smack him around with your auto attacks a little bit more, he's not
Wait,
actually able to finish the job.
Pink. You can okay, it may not be viable always, but you can just Odin them, and then Gilgamesh's dropkick hits people back into the center of the tornado.
Yes, it does. I did want to mention that, because that is the best case scenario. But usually, I personally have been saving the tornado for team fights. I don't want to use it in basic 1v1s, but it probably would be smarter to do that, because that's just securing some more kills, which means more ticks for your counter. So yeah, that does seem like a good strategy.
Yeah, and speaking of the tornado, that's why I haven't been playing against people in the past couple of days, just because I played like 15 to 25 matches, and all of them had all of them in all of them words. In all of them, the enemy team was Gilgamesh and 4 freaking AoE gods.
Oh,
And you can.
I had a rough time the other day. There was a duo that was Gilgamesh and Hercules, and those guys will launch you all over the map, and they were very consistent in their plays, because they were able to chain their knockbacks and whatnots very well. So the Hercules would knock you into their section, then Gilgamesh would just drop kick you further, and then you're screwed by whatever mage they had, and it was not a pleasant time.
Yeah, I remember one match specifically. So I actually did some research, and I feel like this is important to the thing I'm about to say, just because it gives more freaking information, I guess. I don't know, but I did some research, and apparently, competitively speaking, Danzaburo is hard countered by basically anyone who has AOEs. Now this is important because I was in a match where I was with Donzaburo, and the enemy team was Gilgamesh, Zeus, Kukulkan, Tiamat, and
Yep.
Poseidon, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, I had fun.
That is
In,
not a
in,
good time.
in fact, all of our team had fun. I remember another match, the one I played right after that. I think I was Sylvanus, and my team tried to actually use me as a wall because I'm a tank, and then the enemy team happened, and then everyone ran back to spawn because we were in front of the portal, and my entire team ran back into the fountain because they killed me in like half a second with Sylvanus.
Oh,
And I tend to go for healing based Sylvanus because I find it more fun. If I want to go full tank, then I'll just choose a different Guardian. But I didn't that time. Yeah.
yeah. That's wild.
So yeah, like Gilgamesh to me, like Gilgamesh's skit from fighting against it seems like he's what Odin used to be before people complained that he wasn't fun. I guess I don't know. New
Yeah.
Odin is less fun to me.
New Odin is weird. I don't understand it. I tried
People,
it out once. I was like, nope, this doesn't feel right to me. I will wait until they repatch Odin or just never play him again.
yeah, because like people say that his new tree has better use because it's an AoE and then you can throw it and shit like that. But I don't know. Like it gives Odin a lot more ranged play, but I was comfortable uh being a player that jumps in at people, hits them with two abilities, and then all he has is auto attacks because Odin is there to so that people cannot leave. Odin is not there to get
Yeah.
kills. And like I genuinely feel like the freaking the javelin has less utility because like it's better for laning, sure, but I mean I can just walk next to the enemy mini wave and I can just do the spinny thing,
Yeah.
and it did the same thing. Like neither of them kill the enemy lane alone. So like what?
Yeah.
Smite, it exists.
It certainly does. Yeah,
So
I had
yeah,
a lot of fun with Gilgamesh. He was very fun to kind of tinker around with and kind of learn how to utilize him to the best of his abilities. Still haven't figured out quite what's going to be. Don't know the what will ultimately be his proper build, but still a very fun god to tinker around with and try new things out. Build completely random items and see what clicks.
I mean the proper build is very arguable too. You have to keep in mind because like every assassin is being built tanky right now because Bruiser builds and whatever. But I build Retatosker like technically critical chance.
Hmm.
It works out fine for the most part. I just actually have to play him like an assassin, like he is,
Yeah,
and then people still die. So
this is true. So I usually waffle between attack speed Ratatosker and tanky Ratatosker.
yeah,
Ratatinsker.
yeah. I don't usually play assassins tanky because, well, yeah, I'm not supposed to. If I
Mm-hmm.
if I play an assassin, I either uh like do skill damage shit or attack speed very very rarely. But like
Yeah.
there was this one funny match where um we had two guardians. One of them was Ymir and the other one was Ares, I think. So we had two guardians, and I was with Naja, and I had the most mitigation at the end of the match because I built
Oh
tank.
man.
Because I built tank,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they didn't because freaking that guardian is in right now, and that like I wish people actually played guardians. It would be really nice if you could actually
Yeah.
rely on people. And I know that I'm expecting too much out of randoms, but like still, if you lock a guardian, like you know, if you don't want to play a guardian in a guardian way, that's cool. At least like do the freaking role selecting and just say that you're like an assassin or something.
Right.
Like, make it obvious that we'll need someone who can actually build tank. Who
Yeah.
actually wants to, I guess, rather. But yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually did play a lot of Athena and what's his name? Geb. Well, whenever I was unable to pick Gilgamesh, because he was kind of new at the time, so I think the first day I tried to play him was probably his actual release day, so I like never got to. I got in a match. I played a single match with him, a single match without him, and then the server crashed, and then I didn't get to play the rest of the day. But I'm guessing he's probably not very good, or at least not very friendly to casual audiences, because the first initial 2 days, I want to say, there was always a Gilgamesh in every match, and now that we're almost a week in since his release, I actually don't know the actual timeline. But after a few days, take for example, I played earlier today and uh, a little bit yesterday as well, or actually probably a bit more yesterday because I actually had the day off. Gilgamesh was actually kind of a rarity. I would pick him a lot, and I would always wait till everyone else picked their gods, and nobody likes the warrior class, so it's like, hey, free Gilgamesh for me.
Yeah.
But on the opposing teams, it was a rarity that I would ever actually see Gilgamesh. I would actually see Bologna just a bit more often, but that's also only seeing Bologna 2 times as opposed to Gilgamesh's 1, so that's not saying a lot. I'm assuming the Warriors are vastly underpowered in this season or something, because at least from what I've been playing, the typical team lineup is like 3 mages and 2 hunters, or 3 mages, a tank, and a hunter, or 2 hunters, 2 mages, and assassin, etc. Builds all the team lineups have more or less consisted of multiples of something else in favor of ditching a warrior. So maybe that's something for me to look into as to why nobody's picking warriors lately. But I'll just assume that they're underpowered compared to their counterparts, which is reasonable because warriors have always been probably the most underwhelming class to pick. So it's understandable that they aren't very popular.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you've done this week aside from
Anything
Gilgamesh?
else? Yes, aside from Gilgamesh, the finale for Falcon and Winter Soldier came out on Friday, which was yesterday at the time of this recording. And I suppose I can talk relatively freely about this because Alex isn't here.
Yeah, and I don't give a shit, so.
Yeah, precisely. That's where I was going with that. So I remember, or at least I think I remember correctly, that at the very beginning, when the first episode dropped, I was like, oh yeah, it seems like the secondary villains are the Flag Smashers, and that Zemo is being set up to be the big bad because all the posters and trailers have featured him and whatnot. Granted, I didn't watch trailers because I kind of swore off doing that because my brain works a bit too well and it tries to figure things out. Things aren't there, and I don't like it. So I just like to go in with the element of surprise. Let me be surprised because I don't want to figure things out ahead of time. But yeah, that single image or poster of Zemo with his mask led me to believe that he's going to be the villain in this series because they haven't mentioned anyone else. No, he's just a side character completely. The Flag Smash of the entire series from episode 1 all the way to the finale, and it was all handled very well. There is kind of a surprise twist at the end that you more or less see coming, or at least doesn't come as a shock when it happens, which is Sharon Carter, former SHIELD agent, is now the power broker, which I assume is going to be a villain going forth in either another Falcon or the next Captain America film. It remains to be seen, but they have established her as a power that will be a thing going forward. Curious to see where that will go, because that could introduce a lot of new characters, specifically within the ranks of the Masters of Evil and the Thunderbolts. Because I want to say a good majority of those guys get their powers from the Power Broker. Or at least I know for a fact that Songbird does. And that's one that I'm really going to see on the big screen someday. So I'm crossing my fingers. There's hope, but I won't look or think too much into it. Falcon gets his Captain America uniform in the finale. It looks awesome. I was a fan. All the action scenes with Captain America and Winter Soldier are fantastically done. John Walker, the U.S. agent for Captain America in this series, does return after, I believe he was benched in episode 5, but maybe he had a couple scenes in that one. I don't remember. I kind of don't remember things well, if you haven't noticed. But he does come back for the finale as an ally of Captain America and Winter Soldier, and it's done very well. And in the post-ending, we'll say, he does actually get his actual uniform and the actual moniker of U.S. agent. So he will likely be a mainstay in the MCU, which is great. I thought Wyatt Russell did a fantastic job. He was easily one of the standout characters in a cast that was just chock full of heavy hitters, which is fantastic. I think everyone brought their A game to the series, and even if they were only operating at their B game, I guess they're just good enough that it was hard to notice, because everyone did a fantastic job. Let's see. Anything else big about this finale? Not really. Nothing of note that I can recall. So, closing thoughts, I thought the series was fantastic. Everything was very well done. I've got, to my knowledge, no complaints whatsoever. I thought everything was handled spectacularly. And for anything else I've done this week, I already talked that a bit earlier that I was doing the recordings for the Aztec and Hades. So that's what I spent a lot of this week doing. And outside of that, I don't think I actually watched anything else. So I think we're good.
All right.
So, yeah, the floor is yours, my son.
Okay, Daddy.
The
The roles are reversed.
roles have been reversed.
So let's see. Did I forget if I thought about this yet last week or not. I even forget if this happened last week or not. But I did end up finishing Assassin's Creed Syndicate for the freaking 6th or 7th time. I forget.
Okay, and Syndicate is the one in London, right?
Yes.
All right.
Well, it's the one in Victorian London.
Yes.
We need to make that distinction because Valhalla exists.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I wish it didn't, but that's a different question. But yeah, so Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a game. Assassin's Creed is not known for its bosses, usually. I mean, there is that one time you fight with the Pope. That's the only good boss. Well, that's the only memorable.
You can fight with the Pope?
Yes, in Assassin's Creed 2.
Which one?
In Assassin's Creed 2,
I need to finish that.
The end game boss is the Pope.
I love it.
And then Brotherhood starts right after you beat the Pope up.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why I like the Ezio trilogy. That's one of the reasons. But yeah,
that sounds awesome. I need to finish that trilogy.
But yeah, so like Assassin's Creed is usually not really known for its bosses because they usually suck. The fight with the Pope is kind of cool, I guess. I mean, mechanically speaking, it's nothing special, but the actual, like, just saying, hey, the protagonist is beating up the Pope is cool enough that it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
The Charles Lee fight is what's the word I'm looking for? It's good from a narrative standpoint. The actual mechanics of it suck so much as that I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a fight. It's a chase, actually. And
Okay.
the chase part is very bad. You need to play the game perfectly or nigh perfectly to actually finish the mission at all.
Ooh.
Yeah. But the cutscene after it is cool. And then after that, like, I don't really remember any of the other ones because Assassin's Creed 1 happened. I don't even remember who the like, oh, Mualim. Yeah, kind of okay, I guess. I don't know. Not great in my opinion. And then the other games, like, and bosses aren't really all that memorable either to me. So Syndicate's end boss is spectacularly bad because I remember it, and that's the reason it's very bad, because I only remember things that are either very good or very bad. And Syndicate was already going in a way where they were like, oh, cool video games, like, they were doing the whole tongue-in-cheek, oh, hey, well, isn't it funny that we're actually just like a video game and all that. And I don't know. Like, the end boss is literally just, hey, run up to the guy you've been following for this game, and then do like a combo on him, and then he shoves you away in a cutscene, and then you do it again, but this time there's obstacles, and then you do this like 5 more times, and then he's dead.
Well, that doesn't drag on at all.
Yeah. And like overall, the actual, like, there's so many things, like, not even necessarily bad things, just things, design decisions of note that I could bring up but forget about because I need to be playing the game to actually freaking notice them. Because, like, it's very, the things that are bad with Assassin's Creed Syndicate are not things that stick with you. They are just very small details that add up overall to make a very bad end product. Like, there's some nice writing in it, some actual character development in the modern day and all that. And then the write, so some other times the writing is just straight garbage. Like, I mean, you can probably tell that from the fact that that last week, or I think it was last week, I was like, yeah, the true crime DLC is actually pretty fun. Aside from the last mission, that's what one success. And that's the whole game, really. Like, there's missions that are relatively well written, or at least, like, serviceable enough that you don't notice it that much. And then sometimes the game just shits itself and it doesn't work. And that's the whole game, really. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, hey, the rendition of London is really cool, and walking through it is really nice. And then you get into a fight, and then you remember that the combat mechanic sucks ass because people complained that the Unity's combat mechanic was shit, and it was. But they like, it's this thing where like, this is a sentiment that I bring up with a lot of things, and this is one of them, where people praise one thing over another, not because it's good, but because it's better. And replacing something bad with something equally as bad, but bad in a different way, doesn't make it good to me.
Yeah.
And that's basically the conversion from Unity's fighting mechanic to Syndicate's fighting mechanic to the new fighting mechanic. Like, Unity's fighting mechanic was shit because it was slow as ass, and it like, half of the time it didn't register that you were actually freaking combat, and sometimes it just decided you weren't in the middle of combat, which I think you remember.
Yep.
And then Syndicate's fighting mechanic is similar, although with better like combat detection, so it actually knows when you're in combat most of the time. But it's also like, instead of being really slow, it's really fast, but not actually fast. Like, it's fake fast the animations are really fast, but like you can read the freaking daily newspaper in between the text from the enemies sometimes, and some other times the game is just like, okay, all of the enemies attack at the same time, and you can't counter them. Like, I will tell you to counter them, and I will put the counter button above their heads so that you know which button to press to counter them, but I will not register it. I don't know how that happens, but it does.
Yep.
And then the new combat mechanic is just what if we took Dark Souls but didn't actually put in the effort to make it fun? So yeah,
Yeah.
because you haven't played Dark Souls or any Souls like, as far as I know. So
Yep,
Dark
I
Souls.
have not.
So Dark Souls' combat mechanic works off of the thing of it works off of a couple of multiple things tied together. But basically, it's all about how you need to commit to your attacks because you can't cancel animations, but attacks deal a lot of damage both to you and to the enemy. Well, if you're building right, at least. And yeah, it's just basically just working around the enemies' attack animations and your attack animations and how you can't cancel them usually. And Assassin's Creed's new combat mechanic is like it tries to go for that, but it also cancelable attack animations and like none of the weight and damage. Like the animations can be slow or fast, it doesn't matter because what decides damage is not the actual attack itself. What decides the damage is your build, which is true for Dark Souls as well. But if in Dark Souls or a Souls-like game, if I do a very large swing with an axe that's the size of my character, and then I hit a guy in the sides, then I will take down, like, I don't know, 25 to 50% of his health, regardless of whether or not I'm actually properly built for it. And if I'm not, then the animation will change to show that the attack wouldn't do that much damage.
Yeah.
In Assassin's Creed, that's not true. So I can freaking throw a hail of daggers at a guy, and it can take down 75% of his health, or it can take down 5% of his health. And all that decides it is what clothes I'm wearing. So yeah, that things like this is freaking words. Things like these are why I'm constantly complaining about where Assassin's Creed is headed, because like
Yeah.
it's not even a thing of like, okay, they look at what they did to my boy. At this point, it's literally just they are not making a good game. Like this is not a good game. Like it's bloatware. It's just all, hey, how big we can make the map. Okay, we can make it the size of 30 football stadiums in real life. And then, okay, how do you make, like, I forget if I talked about this, I think I brought it up. But someone modded the PC version of Odyssey so that they can't be stopped by the level caps. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes about, I don't know, 100, 150 hours if you're not rushing, I guess, I don't know. Because the game forces side quests on you, which makes them not side quests, but But yeah, like Odyssey usually takes around 100 hours on average, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really look at the stats. But according to the guy, from what I remember, if you take out the level stops so that you can actually go through the story missions in order as they're supposed to be, then Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a 20-hour game, just like most of the other Assassin's Creeds before we went into RPG Creed. So
Yep.
But no, it's not bloated. No, look at the sales. The sales are good. That means the game is good, right?
Yeah, right.
Like people don't buy COD and FIFA because of their names. No, those are good games because they sell a lot. I mean, even like I say that FIFA isn't being bought. I saw people selling FIFA 20, I think, or like near very close to release because no one actually wants to play FIFA anymore, I guess.
Understandable.
Yeah. So there's the Assassin's Creed rant for this week.
Oh yes.
See you next week when I will continue to bitch about the freaking my love leaving me for a freaking much better looking man. Shit. So aside from that, I also played Shyness, the Lightning Kingdom.
Okay.
So, where did you even hear when I first talked about this game?
I don't think so, because I feel like this is the first time I've heard of it.
All right. Well, Shyness, the Lightning Kingdom. I think that's funny. That is very funny if you weren't here for it, because there's two times where I talked about like games that could arguably be considered furry games on this podcast, and you weren't there for either of them. The other one, I remember you weren't there for it. But yeah, so Shyness, the Lightning Kingdom is it's it's hard to describe, but it's an RPG first and foremost. Like an actual, honest to God, wants to be Final Fantasy RPG. And I say it wants to be Final Fantasy because there's chocobos, more or less, but they're lizards instead of chicken.
Oh.
Yeah. They're lizard cows, I think. Whatever.
That sounds horrifying.
It's cute-ish, I guess. I don't know. they tried. They tried.
You can't fault them for trying.
Yeah. But so Shyness the Lightning Kingdom is it's a fantasy RPG that's in its own universe and all that, and magic and shit like that. It's made by, well, I want to call it an indie game. I don't actually know if it's an indie game, but I want to call it an indie game because it just has that very distinct like smell of indie Eurojank, and it's made by French people from what I can tell. So hey, and it is quite kind of janky. Like there is a lot of things that lead that hurts. I just can't. But yeah, like there's a lot of spaces that leave things to be desired, but at the same time, the game can be a lot of fun. Well, when you can figure out the puzzles are a bit obtuse sometimes. But the game tries to go for a lot of things. Like the puzzle, there's platforming in this game. That surprised me because RPGs are not usually known for actually having a jump button.
You're right.
And this game does for some reason, and it doesn't feel good, but like, you know, on one hand, I have to recognize that the things that they did weren't pulled off 100% of the time. At the same time, just the fact that they tried it is admirable because there's I want to say innovation, but I don't actually know because I don't play enough JRPGs.
Yeah.
But like, there's enough interesting ideas that if this game got like a sequel or I don't know, had more money, then a lot of the things that I could point out as being bad could have been fixed. Because like the control scheme feels very like it's very snappy. I guess is the best way to put it, and sometimes a bit more weighted than it should be or it should feel like, I guess. But like things like that could be fixed very easily, or well, okay, I don't know anything about game design, so I can't say that it could be fixed very easily. But I imagine that part of that is because they didn't have that much of a budget, and you know, you can like you make it feel good enough first, and then you worry about having money to actually make it feel like great.
Yeah.
it does feel good enough, so you know.
Good enough's not bad.
Yeah.
We can live with good enough.
And then what else? There is actually like I like how this game, to get around, you know, having once again budget, I assume, to get around not having a budget, they have both actual animated cutscenes as well as like these comic cutouts or whatever, like basically moving comics for cutscenes.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I think it looks okay. Like, you know, it worked for Max Payne, it can work for this. But the thing that surprised me is that this game also has like mostly voice acted dialogue. At least, well, in cutscenes it's fully words voice acted, and in the game it's not, but it's also not in English. It's in their own made up language.
Okay.
So yeah, and the biggest thing that I think, oh yeah, the voice acting. That there is something I wanted to note is that that a lot of the voice acting is amateurish, which yeah, in the game I think. But there was
Yeah.
this one character who is one of the antagonists, as far as where I am in the game at least, who I have to assume was originally supposed to be called Captain Aaron, because and then someone wrote his name down wrong, and they found it too funny to not leave it as that, because his name is Captain Aaron. And like most of the voice acting is amateurish. That guy, whoever voiced Captain Aaron, is like very is the voice you think of when you think of very like hammy, played up anime villains, and it's really good. Like he outshone everyone else in the scene and in the game so far. And like some people might not like that kind of voice acting. I do, because like it's every word he says seeps with evil, and he wants you to know it, and it's just great. Uh, and then to actually talk about the other stuff, which I said that arguably this could be considered a furry game, I guess, because the first two protagonists, the first three actually, that you get to meet are these made up anthropomorphic animal people. Two of them are like bears, I guess, and I have no clue what the other one is, but what the other one is, but he's called Cayenne, and every time they talk about him, I just think of the pepper. So
Yeah.
like he's, I guess, a cat person, but I don't know, because it's made up animals.
Right.
But they also have human characters, so yeah, fantasy.
Fantasy.
Now, the last thing that I wanted to point out about it is the combat mechanic, because the game has random encounters, but you can see them on the map, which is really nice. Like you physically run into the enemy, and then you get into a fight with the enemy, like you should.
Okay.
But also, well, okay, Pink, I have described this game for a while, I guess. I don't know. So, from the things I have said, what do you think the combat mechanic is like?
That is a good question. Is it like maybe is it turn based?
No.
Hmm. RPG. What else do they do in RPGs?
Well, there is the action thing that freaking Final Fantasy did. The active battle system, I think that was Chrono Trigger,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's not that either. So what Shyness, the Lightning Kingdom, does is special as far as I know, because Lightness, the Lightning Kingdom, no, Shyness, weird, shitty ass weird name. That's hard to pronounce when you didn't listen to the voice acting. But yeah, so Shyness, the Lightning Kingdom, has a combat mechanic that's like they tried to make it a freaking stylish hero action game, dude. Sorta. It's like
I'm confused.
so remember Devil May Cry?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if you took out the air combos from Devil May Cry and instead added magic and made it so you can only fight in like an enclosed arena, but the arena was made from wherever you are on the map, and that's how the fighting mechanic in Shyness works.
Okay.
Like that's a funny and weird way that they implemented the RPGs into character action like that. That actually is worth noting, I guess. Which is they made it so you can get these disciplines, and the disciplines they teach you different weights. Disciplines teach you different magic abilities and also combos. So
Almost.
yeah, so you kill people, and then they might drop disciplines, and you just randomly learn. Hey, if I press like freaking square twice, X once and then R2, then I can do a backflip or a freaking Jackie Bryan flip kick that will also life steal.
Oh man.
Yeah, and that's a really nice implementation to have both of those interact with each other, and I like it. It is like many other things in the game. It is kind of jank because I assume they didn't have money to make it not jank. But it like I
Right,
appreciate
right.
I appreciate the effort, and it is something that I have not seen anybody else do. So, because you could say that, oh well, Final Fantasy has something similar because it does have the well, both Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts have similar things because they do their thing is more real time action oriented and all that, and they do have air combos, so they're technically more or technically could be deeper technically words.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know about Kingdom Hearts, but in Final Fantasy VII Remake, you don't learn new combos. So well, no, that's also a lie because you do, but it's not actual combos. It's just new moves, a couple of them.
Mm.
So yeah, that's an argument I guess that could be had. Overall, I don't mind the game. It's okay so far. I've gotten farther than the last time I tried the game, which I had to restart the game because Matt Hardy came to my house and deleted all my save files. So,
Right.
but yeah, so I did that, and then what else did I do? Well, I did I did spend some time drawing, I guess,
Nice.
and then let's see if I can actually find the thing I drew. Oh yeah, so one of the things I drew was I went back and tried to make another freaking concept for the three of us in a chibi style because I don't know. Like
Ah.
usually when I draw shit, it's like I don't know, and then I figure something out to draw, or I just start drawing a shape, and then I'm like, oh hey, that looks like that, so I just make it that,
Yeah.
and it's not great, but then hey, I'm still getting used to things.
Right.
So to me, because I went into this going like, okay, I'm gonna make it so Pink is not Haruda anymore, and I'm gonna make it so W is not freaking the unholy merging of Pat and Matt from Best Friends. So instead, you became like, I don't know, Tommy Vercetti or Vercetti, yeah,
Yeah, right.
and Alex is a pug. I don't know,
I love it.
but also I am working on something that requires me to draw James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2. So I had to redraw him. Well, because I have drawn him in the past, but not in my current art style. I guess I don't know. People, the way you render people's faces are weird and change
Yep.
very haphazardly. So
Yep.
I have an issue with this because he looks very very fat and very thick, and he wasn't supposed to.
Thick boy.
Yeah. So let me get a picture of James, so you'll know the guy. I guess.
Right.
The, I need to learn how to draw legs better. Like just overall, like because even with James, to me, like you look at the torso and it looks okay. Like it looks alright, and then you look from the hip
Yeah.
down and it just falls apart. At least if you ask me. I did also um. Well, I have started shading in a different way once more. Whoa, words. But yeah, I did start shading in a different way once more. Oh no, I pressed on the wrong thing again. Firefox, why? There we go. There's the copy URL button. Finally. Let's hope this works. There you go. There's James. So you can
Okay.
compare.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I did change how I shade once more because I figured out how masks work in this new thing, which I have not been able to figure out in either Photoshop nor GIMP. So
Ah,
that, and I don't know if it works in colored stuff because usually when I do the shading, the stuff is still in monochrome, and I just shade like it would you would see it in like a freaking a comic book or a manga.
yeah.
But I also color things, and then I don't know, it looks okay, but I'm not sure if it's good. What do you think?
I
'Cause
actually really like the coloring. I think it looks
thanks.
very good.
So yeah, I've been like, drawing is weird because I used to be able to draw legs better, and then I just kind of stopped apparently. Like I get that I quit drawing for like 2 months at a time because usually I internalize things better when I'm not actually interacting with it. But you wouldn't think that how much you can actually render things would change that much.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I that may be all I've done. I've erased myself, and I this is like the fourth time that I've done that joke, but it's not even the actual lyric. The actual lyric is I faced myself or something. No, it's both. It's both faced myself and then erased myself. Yes, but it's all I've done, not what I've done. So yeah, there is the podcast, I guess.
There's the podcast. We went through all our discussions and now it's over.
Yes, Eddie, say bye.
Bye?
Alex, say bye.
Alex isn't here, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
He abandoned us in a time of need.
Now we shall never leave.
Oh, we'll be stuck here forever.
Yep, just like last week.
You're not wrong.
Well, whatever. Bye.